See me? Well, it's a bit of a pea super here this morning. Can't see a thing. I'm in the fens. At last I've come back, you say. I'm at Woodwalton Fen. Woodwalton Fen is part of the Great Fen, including Holme Fen, which is where I did a vlog several weeks ago now, a couple of months ago. Put a link up to here in the fog, and I've got the fog again. A bit more fog this morning, if I'm honest. This is a proper fen pea super. Can hardly see anything at all in front of me. The fen's over there, and I've not been to this fen. It's not birch trees as far as I know in this fen. This is more of a reed bed. There's several little lakes and areas of water and fen and traditional fenland, wild fenland in here. I'll tell you a little bit more about this fens a little bit later on when I can see you. But yeah, I'm going to have a wander around. Beautiful. All I can hear is the birds waking up. Can't see them, just hear them. I'm going to have a wander around this area of the wild fen and see if I can find anything to photograph. I think with this foggy atmosphere, I should be alright. Let's go and have a look. Ali, wanna go for it? So sorry for not doing too much to camera, but I thought I'd really take advantage of the fog while it was still here and try and get some images. It's just beginning to lift, and it's really lifting quickly. It's amazing. I was just down by a piece of water. I didn't film down there because it was very quiet. There was some birds around and I didn't really want to disturb the wildlife, if I'm honest. But I could see the fog lifting before my eyes. It's amazing how quickly it does lift. But yeah, so I've taken a few images so far. Hopefully the fog will stay a little bit longer for me to head back into the trees. As I say, I was down by that lake and I was hoping to get, there's a little island in the middle of the lake which looked quite nice on the pictures I'd seen, but when I got close to it, it wasn't really doing it. It was very messy around the island, and so I took a couple of shots down there anyway, but I've got very wet legs. Walked across the marshlands and through the reed beds, and because of the fog and the dew, it's extremely wet. Got my wellies on, but still got wet legs, never mind. So I'm going to wander back into the woods. There's a place, there's a bungalow. It sounds a bit strange, but there's a bungalow in the middle of these woods on stilts, which I'll tell you more about once I get there, if I can find it. I think it's back this way. So yeah, lovely morning. Nice morning. Let me pass. Just want to go over that way and go past you. So the sun's just beginning to try and push its way through the fog, so I don't think I've got long with this fog now. So I've stopped just in on this track through to the bungalow. You see in the background a lovely path. There's obviously these tracks that go through the woods and they act as lovely leading lines, and there's still some mist in the background, which is really nice. And with this particular shot, I don't know whether you can see it on the camera, but I quite like the way that at the very top of the frame you've got some trees that are overhanging and giving a frame to the top of this image, and it just disappears into the mist in the background. So yeah, this one looks quite nice. But yeah, you can hear me and the birds in the Fenland wild forest. Right, let's see if I can find this bungalow. Trouble when you're walking in a woodland in the misty conditions, you keep stopping, and I stopped again here because I quite like this composition. In fact, I actually really like the composition, and it's just a shame the mist has lifted a bit too much, I think, because this would look really nice a little bit early on. In fact, I think I walked down there, so I missed this one completely. It just shows, doesn't it? But as you can see on the camera, what I've got here is these reeds that are right in the foreground here, just catching the light actually, and it's given them some lift. And then you've got the bridge in the midground, and then in the background you've got the trees disappearing into a bit of mist still left in the background. So it's quite a nice composition. It leads you in and a bit of an S-bend through. So I've taken 3 shots because I'm not really sure how I'm going to expose this one. There's some highlights coming through which I can play with, that's not a problem, I'm not concerned about those. But it's really my focus, because I've focused down here on these reeds to get them sharp. I've focused on the bridge, and then I'm not so bothered about the focus in the background because it's a bit misty. But for these two here, so I may blend these two, I'm not sure. Well, that's assuming that I like the image when I look at it on the screen, because I certainly like it here. Huh. Right, I am going to try and find this plumber bungalow. It's going to be rubbish by the time I get there. You're going to think, God, was it really worth it? Onwards. So I found the bungalow, here it is. So a little bit of history. So as I said earlier, this is one of the last few remaining ancient fens here. And this fen was preserved by Charles Rothschild, who built this bungalow, and it's the Rothschild bungalow. 1910 he acquired this fen to protect it and keep it as traditional ancient fen. He tried to sell it to the National Trust, but the National Trust had already bought the Wicken fen just recently in another vlog that I did, which I'll put a link up to above. So they didn't want this fen as a nature reserve. They didn't really want two nature reserves nearby, so he kept this fen, built that bungalow as a retreat, and yeah, I think he lived in it for a while. Well, not lived in it, but he came to stay in it to enjoy this countryside. He was described as one of the most modern conservationists of his time, and he's protected this old ancient fen ever since, and it's now preserved as a national nature reserve. So bit of history there. It's good really that they've protected these fens, because it just shows what this place was like many years ago, and more importantly, it protects the wildlife. There's so much wildlife here. As I've wandered around this morning, there's been ducks and swans and squirrels and all sorts of birds, and obviously in the reeds you've got lots of insects and pond life and butterflies. There's a load of butterflies in this wood, so yeah, it's really important that we preserve these natural areas of fen and woodland for the wildlife. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to take a shot of the bungalow, if I'm honest. It's not that photogenic, but I just thought I'd tell you guys the history of this bungalow and this fen that I'm now in. So I'm going to wander around for a little bit more and see what I can find. I've still got some fog, as you can see, so I might be able to still pick some other compositions out, but it's beautiful just walking around here this morning. Really peaceful, really enjoying it. I just got spooked by a wild hare, because the size of a dog, massive. I was just walking along this track, all of a sudden it just darted out next to me, frying the life out of me. But on the subject of hares, which is a good link, just trying to not fall in the water, I'll leave a link above to a video I've just watched of Sam and Hannah Bose, who do landscape as well, but Hannah particularly is really into her wildlife photography. They did a fantastic video on wild hares, which they photographed in, I can't remember where it was, but it was very remote. But it's a fantastic watch. I'll put a link above. Have a look at it. Really interesting. Right, I'm in the search for one more composition before I die. Before I die. God, I hope not. One more, my last composition before I pass. One more composition. Oh my God, I'm losing it completely now. One more composition before I leave. Right, see you in a minute. I didn't find another composition. I think because the fog has lifted, it's meant that the compositions are harder to find, but I don't mind. I think as you other vloggers that watch my channel will know, it's sometimes you feel as though you need to, you know, with a vlog finish with a good composition, but so what, you know, I've enjoyed this morning. I've taken some nice images. I think I've enjoyed being out, and hopefully I've shown you guys another part of the fens and a bit of history, which I think is good. Considering I've not been to the fens much lately in my other vlogs. So yeah, it's been a really nice morning. Hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and we shall see you again very soon. As always, I don't know wherever I decide to go next. So anyway, until the next time, hope you enjoyed this. Give us a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Love you to read your comments. Ring that notification bell so you get notified when I've got another vlog coming up. And yeah, I shall see you on the next one. See you soon.